June 4th, 1940. The world is engulfed in the flames of war. Nazi Germany has swept across Europe, conquering France, Belgium, and the Netherlands in a matter of weeks. Britain stands on the brink of invasion, its army battered after the miraculous evacuation of Dunkirk. In London, the House of Commons gathers in a tense session, awaiting words from their new Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. Just 25 days into his leadership, Churchill delivers a speech that will become a defining moment of World War II. We shall fight on the beaches. In minutes, we'll relive this address. A rallying cry of defiance, resilience, and unyielding determination in the face of darkness. This is defiance in darkness. Churchill's "We shall fight on the beaches" speech. Let's set the stage. It's 1940, and the situation is dire. Adolf Hitler's forces have unleashed a blitzkrieg, a lightning war, across Western Europe. By late May, the German army has trapped Allied forces in a shrinking pocket around Dunkirk, a French port on the English Channel. The British Expeditionary Force, along with French and Belgian troops, faces annihilation. But in a desperate 9-day operation, codenamed Operation Dynamo, over 338,000 soldiers are evacuated across the Channel, rescued by a flotilla of military ships and civilian boats, fishermen, yacht owners, even pleasure craft. It's a miracle, but it's also a retreat. The British Army has lost nearly all its heavy equipment, tanks, artillery, vehicles, leaving the nation vulnerable. France is on the verge of surrender, and Britain stands alone against the Nazi war machine. Winston Churchill, who became Prime Minister on May 10th, 1940, faces the greatest challenge of his career. At 65 years old, he's a seasoned politician, known for his fiery rhetoric and unorthodox strategies. But his early leadership is marked by crisis. The fall of France is imminent, and many fear Britain will be next. Some in his government, including Foreign Secretary Lord Halifax, advocate for peace negotiations with Hitler, mediated through Mussolini's Italy. Churchill rejects this outright, believing that any deal with the Nazis would lead to subjugation. Instead, he chooses defiance, determined to rally the nation for a fight to the end. On this day, June 4th, he addresses the House of Commons to report on Dunkirk and outline Britain's next steps. Churchill begins with a detailed report on the Dunkirk evacuation. He describes the operation's success, noting that expectations were grim just 2 weeks earlier. The military had hoped to save perhaps 20,000 to 30,000 men, but in the end, over 338,000 were rescued, an extraordinary feat. He praises the courage of the troops, the skill of the Royal Navy, and the bravery of the Royal Air Force, which fought off German planes to protect the evacuation. But he tempers this achievement with a stark warning: wars are not won by evacuations. The loss of equipment is a severe blow, and the army must now rebuild to defend the homeland. He then turns to the broader situation in Europe. Churchill paints a grim picture of the German advance, describing how the Nazi war machine has overrun France, Belgium, and the Netherlands with terrifying speed. He speaks of the French army, still fighting valiantly, but overwhelmed by the enemy's superior numbers and tactics. He warns that the Battle of France is nearing its end, and soon, Britain will face the full might of Germany alone. But he also highlights a strategic advantage: the English Channel, a natural barrier that has protected Britain from invasion for centuries. He assures the MPs that the nation is preparing for defense, fortifying its coasts, training its forces, and building up its air defenses. Churchill acknowledges the fear gripping the nation. Rumors of invasion are rampant, and the specter of Nazi occupation looms large. But he refuses to entertain defeatism. He addresses the possibility of peace talks, firmly rejecting any notion of surrender. He insists that Britain will never negotiate with Hitler, for to do so would mean the end of freedom, not just for Britain, but for all of Europe. He speaks of the empire's resolve, noting that even if Britain falls, the fight will continue from Canada, Australia, and other Commonwealth nations. with the Royal Navy leading the charge. This is a war for survival. He says, a war for the very soul of civilization. His tone shifts to one of fierce determination as he delivers the speech's most iconic passage. He declares that Britain will fight no matter the cost. He imagines the battle ahead, vowing that the nation will defend its island home at every turn. They will fight on the beaches, he says, on the landing grounds, in the fields, and in the streets. They will fight in the hills, and they will never surrender. It's a vision of total resistance, a refusal to yield even if the worst comes to pass. He imagines a scenario where England itself is subjugated, but even then, he says, the empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, will carry on the struggle until the New World, America, steps forth to liberate the old. Churchill's words are a masterclass in leadership. He doesn't downplay the danger. In fact, he amplifies it, preparing the nation for a fight unlike any in its history. But he also instills a sense of purpose, a belief that Britain can endure, that it can prevail. He speaks of the British spirit, forged through centuries of adversity, and he calls on every citizen to rise to the occasion. He highlights the role of the Air Force, noting that the Battle of Britain, the aerial defense of the skies, is about to begin. He expresses confidence in the RAF, believing that their courage will tip the scales against the Luftwaffe, Germany's Air Force. He closes with a call to action, urging the nation to brace itself for its duties. He speaks of the stakes, not just for Britain, but for the world. This is a battle for freedom, for democracy, for the survival of Christian civilization, he says. He invokes the hope that if Britain stands firm for the next year, it may outlive the menace of tyranny for 1,000 years to come. It's a vision of endurance, a promise that this dark chapter will not be the end of the story. The MPs rise in applause, their spirits lifted by Churchill's unyielding resolve. Churchill's speech wasn't broadcast live to the public. It was delivered to Parliament, and only later reported through newspapers and radio summaries. But its impact was immediate. The British people, battered by the fall of France and the retreat from Dunkirk, found new strength in his words. "We shall fight on the beaches" became a rallying cry, a symbol of defiance that would carry the nation through the darkest days of the war. In the months that followed, the Battle of Britain raged in the skies, and the Blitz brought terror to British cities. But Britain held firm, just as Churchill had urged. Today, in 2025, Churchill's speech remains one of the most iconic addresses in history. It's a testament to the power of words to inspire, to unite, to steel a nation against unimaginable odds. The "We shall fight on the beaches" passage has been quoted countless times, a shorthand for resilience in the face of adversity. Churchill's leadership during World War II helped guide Britain and the Allies to victory, though the war would stretch on for 5 more years, claiming millions of lives. His legacy is complex, admired for his wartime resolve, but also critiqued for his imperial views and political decisions. Yet on June 4th, 1940, he gave Britain what it needed most: hope, determination, and a will to fight.